Hey, Scott Massa here from Michigan Pneumatic. Today we're going to go through the proper procedures of checking in your rivet buster. Let's take a look. Here we have our rivet buster that just came back from rent. Before we do anything else, let's just make sure our hose is disconnected from any air supply. Before we test this tool, let's take a look at the entire tool here, starting with the hose. See, this hose has gone through its better days, got a bunch of kinks here at the end. It's kind of beat up. We're going to want to replace this before we move forward. As we keep going, check the trigger, make sure this feels proper, smooth, just like a new rivet buster. Moving down towards the retainer, let's take the spring out. Let's just check the inside here, make sure we got all the pieces. There's not any major damage that we can see. We got everything we need. Let's go test it. After testing the tool, there's still something wrong. Let's take a closer look. First, we want to take a look at the trigger again with a little bit more detail. We want to test and make sure that we're not catching on anything. It's not soft. We've got a proper trigger action like we would in a brand new tool. This tool seems to be fine. Let's move down to the bottom of the tool where most of the issues occur with rivet busters. First, let's remove the retainer spring. Designed to wear to help protect your retainer, this is the most inexpensive part on your tool, and you should be replacing it often. Let's take a look at the customer supplied chisel. The end of the chisel can be an indicator of what's really going on the inside of the tool. Taking a look at our customer's chisel, we can see the witness marks and the flattening of the top of the chisel, which can indicate damage to the inside of the tool. Compared to a new chisel, which is much smoother and rounded at the end. Let's take a look at our retainer as well. Making sure that the spring groove on the inside is not damaged, there's no debris in there, as well as any other imperfections that we might see on the inside. Also, let's take a look at the spring groove on the end of the barrel, ensuring there's no debris, marks, or any damage done to that groove. After finding damage at the end of our customer's chisel, let's take a closer look down the barrel at our piston and piston bridge. Taking a look for any imperfections, burrs, rolling, any damage on the inside of the tool. This one looks pretty damaged. Let's get this replaced. At Michigan Pneumatic, we have designed a replaceable bridge that can be reinserted and pressed into your barrel, compared to our competitors that have machined their bridge into the barrel, which can cause a more expensive replacement when the tool is dry fired and splits the entire barrel. Our replaceable bridge saves our customers time and money. There are 3 other designed wear parts that are at the end of your rivet buster: your upper sleeve, lower sleeve, and rubber bumper. As we can see, this one's quite worn, and we have various different wear patterns that we can see with rubber bumpers inside your tool. This guy, don't know why it was still in there. Michigan Pneumatic has designed different colored bumpers to help you identify your tool on any job site where other rental tools may be present. Contrary to popular belief, there is no functional difference between these colors here. Take a look at our upper and lower sleeves. The upper sleeve controls the depth of which the chisel can go into the end of your tool. If it's worn, this will allow the chisel to reach into the tool further, affecting the stroke of the tool and the power. An example of a bad upper sleeve would be this guy here with raised sharp edges that drops further down on the chisel and has some wiggle to it. An example of an extremely poor upper sleeve would be this guy here. You can see the damage that we've got on the top. This is not going to work. Moving on to the lower sleeve. The lower sleeve acts as a retainer for your chisel, stopping and holding the chisel in place. Please note and see where this lower sleeve ends on the chisel. An example of a bad lower sleeve would be this guy here. Take a look at how far this goes up the chisel. Before we finish putting our tool together to test, let's make sure we check the sight glass on our oiler to ensure we have proper oil levels. And if you have the recommended but optional filter, please take the filter off, remove the brass element, wash this out, replace, put it back on your oiler, and we're good to go. Now let's move on to the parts at the end of the tool. First, grab our retainer. Next, grab our rubber bumper and our lower sleeve. Make sure that the curved end is being installed down on the lower sleeve. Drop this into the retainer. Grab your chisel, install your chisel, your upper sleeve into the end of the tool, and install. Lastly, the retainer spring, and we're ready to test. We're back in our test room at our rubber test pad. We got our rivet buster, and one quick note, we want to make sure that every time we test, we've got a chisel in the tool. If we do not have a chisel in the tool, we're more than likely going to damage the inside of our tool. As you can see, got our new whip hose. Let's give this a test. Seems to be running good. One more quick note. If your customer is sending back their tool and the swivel end of the hose is snapped off, what that probably is happening is your customer is putting their weight on the end of the hose, snapping that swivel end. This is a perfect time to discuss with your customer a T-handle option for all of our rivet busters, from 4-inch stroke to 14-inch. Simply replace the gooseneck handle here, put the T-handle on the tool for a much more natural position. Now that we've installed fresh parts, tested the tool, it's your turn now to install your ready to rent tag. Thanks again for tuning in. This is Scott from Michigan Pneumatic. Have a wonderful day.